Here in the United States, banks are shutting down, and millions of Americans all throughout the country are going into the banks and pulling their money out. There are bank runs happening as we speak. But I want to explain what's going on. I want to explain how some of the things that are happening, these banks shutting down, this is normal. But at the same time, there are some issues that we are facing. Today I want to break down what's happening, why some of these banks are shutting down, and why you are understandably concerned that your money may not be safe. So again, stick around and watch this entire video. I want to explain what's going on, what we are seeing from not just the big banks, from your JP Morgan Chase, from your Wells Fargo and your Bank of America, but also the lower regional banks. Everybody's feeling the same pain. So again, I'm going to break all this down in just a moment, explain what is going on and how you are likely going to be impacted. But first, before I do ask one thing. Takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So just the other day, I received a few emails, a few different comments, all from people saying they're pulling money from the bank. They don't feel confident. The stock market is selling off, right? The current economy, we don't know which direction it's going to go. Is the United States in a trade war with China? We have no clue what's happening. But look at this. It says, say goodbye. Massive bank with over 400 branches to close down 60 locations, and customers will see shutters in 3 phases. Now, I'm going to get to this. I'm going to explain more about this. Okay? But here's what you need to know. Look at this right here. It says, Flagstar Bank closures aren't the canary in the coal mine pundits think it is. Some people are saying that these banks shutting down, this is just the beginning. This is what we are going to see. This is what we've been warning of for several years, is that interest rates are too high. We are still seeing inflation. The economic growth, well, it's not what people were predicting, and many people are going to struggle. Here's the truth. Banks are shutting down, not necessarily only because the economy is in a tough spot. It's because they're preparing for the economy to be in a tougher spot, and they're preparing for their future. Listen to this. One of the reasons why banks are closing down, this is actually coming from a few different friends of mine and people here in the community. One of the reasons why one banker says that they moved to digital banking, that banks are shutting down because they don't need 4 different bank branches in the same 10-mile radius. They just don't need it, especially in smaller cities. Like if you're in New York City or Los Angeles, yeah, I could understand. You might need multiple banks in a very small area. But in some areas, you don't need that. Okay? In Bellingham, Washington, you don't need 3 different Bank of Americas all in a 5-mile radius. You don't need it. But they say most customers now do their banking online or via mobile apps. It doesn't matter if you're depositing a check, you can do it from your phone. You want to check your bank account, you can do it from your phone. You want to apply for a loan, you can do it from your phone. You want to transfer money from one account to your other account, you can do it from your phone. You don't have to go into the bank and tell Janet, hey, here's $200. Can you put this money into savings? Okay, thank you. Because then I need 100. I'm gonna go and I need to put that into checking. The other 100 I need to pay for this other thing. No, you don't need to do all that, right? You can simply write a check, take a picture of it with your phone. It will deposit in your bank account, and you can transfer money that way. Or in some cases, you can transfer from one bank to the other straight from your phone. You never have to go into a banking branch. Here's what another person said. Fewer people are going into banks. I only go into a bank really for one thing, if I need a cashier's check. That's it. But lately, I've been doing more automated banking. I don't need to go and get a cashier's check. They'll just wire it from one bank to the next. That's it. Now I have to pay for it. But again, that's where we're at. Banks are shutting down because they don't need that branch. Because more and more people, especially the younger generations, are using their phone or are using things like fintech, okay, where we see SoFi and Venmo and Apple Pay. That's what they're doing. Listen to this. There's also higher operational costs when you have a bank branch. It's expensive to operate. Think about the amount of the wage growth we've seen over the past several years. In order to pay for rent or a mortgage, in order to pay for car payments, or in order to pay for food, we had to see a cost of our wages go up to match the cost of living. That turned into an issue. And so now banks are saying we are not as profitable now as we once were because the salaries of our staff have increased. We need more security now than ever before. Insurance is going up. Insurance costs are going up. So guess what? It costs more money for the bank. So they're going to shut down a branch in order to stay profitable and justify those expenses that they're trying to get rid of. Listen to this one. We are seeing a consolidation. I said this before, 2 years ago, a year ago, when we saw, again, some banks were shutting down. Banks were closing. They were collapsing overnight. And normally this happens Friday, once the bank closes, is when we see FDIC jump in. And it happened several times. And I brought this to your attention. Normally, I bring up the video on a Saturday or Sunday because we hear about the story Friday night after everything shut down. Okay, that's when they step in and try to save the bank or save the money. But here's what I can tell you. Larger banks are now starting to acquire some of these smaller banks because the smaller regional banks don't have the money, don't have the capital to withstand some of the pressures that they're facing right now. Again, this is understandable, and this is why some people are pulling money out of their regional banks because they are not happy with the way things have gone. They're a little bit concerned that bank may not be there and their money may not be safe. I get it. Again, banks are merging. Larger banks are acquiring some of the smaller regional banks. It's just the way it is. Here's another one. The younger generations, they would prefer to do all their banking online. So again, places like, or websites like, or fintech companies like SoFi, Chime, Cash App, Venmo, right? They offer services that you don't even need to go into a bank. I said this before, the last house I purchased, I went into the bank. I think I went to the bank one time to get a cashier's check. That was it. Okay? One time to get a cashier's check for the down payment. That was it. That was the only time I went to a bank. I think I only met with my lender, my loan officer. I think I only met with her one time, and that was when she gave me a gift and the keys, I believe. That was it. Okay? You don't even have to go into some of these places. You can buy whatever you want. You can go to Carvana and you can buy a car. You don't even have to go into a dealership. They will ship it to you. That is how irrelevant some banks are at this time. Get this. Some banks, and this is the good news, it's not always they're closing because they perform poorly. It's not just because inflation's high, right, or higher than it should be. It's not because interest rates are still high and some people can't afford certain things, right? But what they're trying to move to, and again, this is their strategy, is they're trying to close down banks, certain locations, minimize their costs, their expenses, in order to take some of that savings and reinvest it into the digital infrastructure, into AI, right? That customer service. And I know a lot of people have reached out before that their bank shut down temporarily, opened up a week later just to see that when you walk in, there is no teller. There is no teller. It's all ATM machines. But you can do everything from the ATM machine. And if you need to actually speak to somebody, yeah, there's a room. You can book an appointment to get into the room, and you can make a video call. Guess what? You're not talking to somebody locally. It's somebody from back east. That's what you're getting. Again, interesting. Here's the last one. Higher interest rates are killing banks. And it's not because they are not making money. Again, higher interest rates usually helps banks. Okay, it helps the banks. They make more money. The concern, though, is when rates are too high, this hurts mortgage demand. This hurts loans as well. People don't come in to get a personal loan. They don't come in to buy a home. They don't come in to buy a car because rates are too high. So that is hurting many banks. Now, here's the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention today. We are seeing the stock market in a very interesting place. With the Trump administration, we don't know if we are going to see an interest rate cut anytime soon. Listening to the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell just this week, somebody asked him, if the stock market is doing poorly, will you lower rates to save the stock market? And he flat out said, no. He's not going to save the stock market. That is not the job of the Federal Reserve. But yet President Trump is putting the responsibility on the Federal Reserve to help save the country because of the tariff and the issues we have facing that. So here's what I can tell you. Banks are going to close. We're going to see hundreds of banks close just this year. Okay? This is what we're going to see. I want to read something to you. Look at this right here. It says, at least 28 Flagstar Financial locations have closed in March or will close in April. It says Flagstar Financial operates in 9 states: Arizona, California, Florida, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Wisconsin. It's one of the 30 biggest banks in the United States and has around $100 billion in assets. Most of its branches reside in New York, as Flagstar Financial was formed in December 2022 through the acquisition of Flagstar Bank by New York Community Bank. Yeah. Keep in mind, we are going to see this. As more of these larger banks acquire some of the smaller banks, what's going to happen is they're going to merge. As they do, and you got, let's say, Chase Bank, on one street corner, and you got, Milwaukee Trust or whatever. Again, I don't know. But let's say you have this little hometown trust bank over here, and you got Chase Bank here. Well, if they're right next to each other, and then Chase decides we are going to acquire that little bank, that bank is now going to go under, and everything's going to be operational, but from just one bank. So again, that's what we're going to see. All right? And I wanted to break this down to you and explain this because a lot of people are saying, go get your money out of the bank. Take all your money out of the bank. Shove it in your mattress because that's the safest place for it to be. Here's what I can tell you. Taking all your money out of the bank, I understand you don't want to have everything in there. It's doing you no good, especially as the dollar's starting to collapse. But if you take all your money out of the bank and stick it in a mattress, it's really not safe there either. Now, should you have $1 million in one bank? No, absolutely not. Take your money and diversify it. Put some money in a large bank, in a regional bank, okay? In a fintech like SoFi or something like that. Put it in an investment account, into a Roth IRA, okay? In a SEP IRA. Put it into, I don't really like 401ks, but you can put money in there. Put money into real estate, right? Buy some gold, buy some silver. Put it a little bit in crypto. Diversify it. Again, it's not financial advice. This is just what I do. Because again, I don't want all my money sitting in just one bank because that leaves me vulnerable if that bank were to go under. So I will leave you with that, but that's what we know as of today. Don't freak out. Banks are going to shut down. But as long as you are safe and you're diversified, you should be just fine. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.